Well, Scott Craig is a spokesman for the UNHCR, joins us now by Skype from Amman. Good to have you with us. First of all, let's clear a few things up here. We have a number there, primarily they're internally displaced people who are returning to their former homes inside Syria. Is that right?
Thanks, Sammy, for having me. Yes, you're absolutely right. So the numbers that you cited and that you and Natasha were just discussing are correct. What we're observing is that just over 440,000 internally displaced Syrians, in other words, Syrians who have been forced from their homes within Syria, are beginning to or have returned to their places of origin, and just over 30,000 refugees from the surrounding countries of the region have returned. And I think the reasons for that are pretty mixed from what we have found. We found that, in essence, people are returning to their places of origin, returning to their homes, in many cases because they want to kind of have a look around. They want to go on a sort of fact-finding mission. Is their home still there? Is their business still there? Can they locate their family members in their local community structures and support mechanisms? And they're sort of beginning to go back in order to determine what is the future for them in their former communities? Is it safe for them to go back? Can they make a living?
What are they deciding then, Scott? I mean, are they settling, or are they just having a look, picking up bits and pieces and moving off again?
I think it's very much a mixed picture, Sammy, and at this stage it's quite hard to tell. I mean, what we at UNHCR are saying is this is a trend that we are observing. We are observing larger numbers of people going back. It is actually quite difficult at this point to make a categoric determination as to are they staying, are they going. It's very mixed. And what we're saying is we are, on the back of that, we're stepping up our efforts to try and better understand this, better understand the trend, better understand movements cross-border from the other countries of the region, better understand what people's intentions are. I mean, right now we're going through a rather large study of Syrian refugees in the region to try to work out what are their intentions. Do they want to go home? When? How? What are what would have to be in place for them to be able to go? And if I may, I just want to add one important note to this as well. We at UNHCR are not saying that it is safe for Syrians or Syrian refugees to return to their homes.
All right, that was going to be my next. That was going to be my next question. So you've answered that. Clearly, the UNHCR doesn't think it's safe for people to go back yet. Is it possible to say that they're going back to specific areas in Syria, or are we just seeing a pattern all over the country?
Yeah, so actually, as Natasha was mentioning earlier, she was absolutely correct. What we're seeing is people going back to places like Aleppo, Hama, Homs, Damascus, largely areas of the country where it is more secure, and there has, broadly speaking, been a de-escalation of violence. Of course, we're still seeing sporadic fighting and sporadic violence taking place in those areas, but they are largely going back to areas where there's been a de-escalation. And so clearly, they are making a determination for themselves that they think it is at least safe enough for them to at least tentatively go back and see what is possible there. But to go back to my earlier point, it's really important to stress that we are not saying at UNHCR that the conditions are safe enough for Syrians to return to their homes. What we're saying is this is something we're observing. We're observing that larger numbers of Syrians are returning. We are trying to better understand it and to work out what help and support they can provide. And of course, in future, when conditions are safe enough for people to live in a dignified and safe way, what longer term support will they need? But that's a longer term question. Right now, we're trying to work out where people are going, how long they're staying for, what is their intent, and how can we better support them?
Right, so it's also perhaps important to point out that a very small number are actually returning from outside of Syria. 30,000 out of 5 million, that's small. All right, thanks so much for shedding some light on that. Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Sammy.